Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, Caitlin Goes Hollywood, and it's an episode. Hollywood casting directors see Caitlin and think she's perfect for a part. This gives Grimlord an idea for a robot that can film the Troopers' destruction. Icebot offers the imaginatively named Photobot. Standard stuff follows. Caitlin gets the movie job, and the Troopers fight some Skugs. Caitlin has a meeting with the director at a restaurant. Ryan and JB disguise themselves as hair metal rock stars to sneak in, and a rude waiter treats them like crap. While Caitlin works on the movie, Ryan and JB take on General Ivar, who's launching an assault. Professor Hart contacts Caitlin, and she leaves the set to help JB and Ryan. They defeat the monsters, and Caitlin returns, but someone else has taken over the part, and that's it. This is a really dull episode. It's bland, conventional, it's awkward, not very original. Grimlord's plan is definitely one of his weakest. Photobot has no special abilities that help in battle. He just records things. There's a really weird part when Caitlin is asked to help the others. She says to herself that she wishes she could be in two places at once. And I thought this was setting up the double getting involved, but then they never do. The double shows up in the fight, which just adds to the confusion concerning that line. Like, I know the double can only show up while she's transformed, but why did they talk about, like, being in two places at once, which obviously references the double, and then not acknowledge that the double exists? Ugh. Not a whole lot to say about this one. Like, that's the weirdest thing. If it wasn't for Caitlin saying, man, I wish I could be in two places at once, and then use the double, and then never talk about, man, it's too bad the double can only show up when I'm transformed or something, or you could have taken my place at the movie. I don't have anything else to say about it, so that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finished watching this VR Troopers episode, Grimlord Takes Root. So, summary, Caitlin and Percy are out working on a story about gardens. Percy is allergic to nearly everything. Grimlord's latest plan, coincidentally, has to do with deadly plants. Back with Caitlin, Percy finds a plant that he's not allergic to, finally, but it's poison ivy. Suddenly, vines raise up on their own and attack and wrap around Percy. Caitlin gets the vines off him and calls Ryan. Ryan and JB come to the garden and search for the source of the vines. Despara sends Skugs to keep the troopers away from the vines. Grimlord activates the battle grid. It's been a long time since we've seen that. Ryan's battle grid suit oddly hasn't changed like his normal powers have. The troopers return to their bikes and find that the vines have crushed them. JB and Caitlin analyze some plant samples they found back at the lab. Ryan gets attacked by the vines. He manages to reach his virtualizer and transform. Ryan, JB, and Caitlin split up to deal with some new monsters. Ryan takes on Vegbot, while JB and Caitlin deal with living trees. They defeat the monsters and stop the vines. Grimlord yells at Ivar, and Ivar just turns off communications, which is a nice little character moment for him. The troopers get their bikes repaired with money made from selling the vine samples to a research group. Wonder if it was Anton Mercer who bought them. So this episode starts off pretty cool, but then just kind of turns into a standard bunch of fight scenes. They're all fun, at least. It's so weird, both VR Troopers and Dino Thunder this week are all about plants. The vines in this episode are similar to the ones featured in an MMPR episode, probably recycled. Speaking of recycled Power Rangers stuff, the battle grid is back. Its last appearance was all the way back in the Transmutant. Oddly, Ryan's battle grid suit didn't receive an upgrade, just like his VRVT. Season 2 of VR Troopers really is so fascinating, being a blend of Metalder, Spielbahn, Scheider, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Zhu Ranger. Decent episode, slightly above the past couple of episodes. Hopefully this quality continues. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, The Disc. One of Carl Zichter's women minions is after a man and his daughter who have a special disc. They go to the newspaper and talk to Percy about placing an ad to meet the troopers. Caitlin overhears and takes over. The man tells her that he's been researching VR technology and found something that risks destroying the troopers' powers. It's on a disc and he wants to hand it over to the troopers. Caitlin agrees to meet with the man and bring the troopers. Percy, meanwhile, gets pulled into a fashion makeover story. At Hart's lab, Tyler Steele and Professor Hart tell the troopers that they know the man, Jacobson. He worked with them in the past. Tyler Steele assures the troopers it's safe to reveal their identities to him. Caitlin, Tyler, Ryan, and JB all go to meet Jacobson. Suddenly, Scugs attack. Jacobson's daughter goes missing in the confusion. The troopers split up to search for her. Ryan finds her in Jacobson's old lab, held captive by Doommaster. A cage falls around Ryan, trapping him. Doommaster teleports away, and a new monster comes in and begins to destroy the lab. Ryan transforms and escapes, only to be blasted by the air. JB and Caitlin go to help Ryan. Ryan goes to fight the monster, while the others take on the airborne threats. Doommaster sends an ultimatum to Jacobson, demanding the disc for his daughter. Tyler Steele has an idea. The troopers defeat the bad guys and join Jacobson at the trade. They hand him the disc, only for it to self-destruct. At Hart's lab, Tyler tells Ryan that he's planning to go back with Jacobson to work on stopping Grimlord. Ryan says goodbye, assuring them that he's always with him. Buried in the sea of mediocre cookie-cutter episodes, this is a pretty good one. The tone is tense, and the action is creative. Doommaster finally gets utilized after several episodes of just standing around. The girl playing Jacobson's daughter, Lori, is Brittany Truville, and I thought she looked familiar. I thought, is that the girl that played Kat in Alien Rangers? But I looked it up, no, that was a different girl. And Brittany Truville's only other acting credit is an episode of Murder, She Wrote. Percy's story this time around is standard. He gets dressed up in silly punk clothes and runs away. Not his worst moment. So yeah, an above average VR Trooper episode. Hopefully it continues this quality. Sorry, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. This far in, like 70 whatever, 60 whatever episodes into VR Troopers, there's just not a whole lot to talk about by this point. And it's unfortunate because there's so many mediocre episodes that I've had just way more to talk about, and then I get to an actual pretty good episode, and I just don't have anything to say. So I guess that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, Virtual Venom. The troopers are on a nature walk with JB's nephew Sydney. A man approaches Sydney and gives him a spider. The man turns out to be Doommaster in disguise. When Sydney shows the spider to the others, it suddenly jumps up and bites JB and Caitlin. Ryan manages to swat it away. Carl Zichter watches from his office, gleefully cackling. He goes into virtual reality and congratulates his new minion, Arachnobot. The spider was his. At Hart's lab, the troopers discover the effects of the spider's venom. It causes rapid aging. JB and Caitlin will be the equivalent of 100 years old in 24 hours. Arachnobot and Doommaster spar, and Grimlord considers replacing Doommaster with Arachnobot. Ryan goes to Tao Dojo. Tao is watching Sydney. Ryan tells them he's going to look for the spider that bit the others to create an antidote. Sydney wants to help, but Ryan tells him it's too dangerous. Sydney sneaks away to follow Ryan anyway. Ryan uses a device Professor Hart gave him to look for the spider. Grimlord sees him and sends the Scugs. Sydney sees the Scugs teleport away with Ryan, who drops the tracking device. Ryan comes face to face with Arachnobot and transforms to fight him. At the lab, meanwhile, JB and Caitlin begin to age further. They want to help Ryan, but they can't transform in their state. Sydney, meanwhile, has found Ryan's tracking device and tries to find the spider himself. He falls into an underground cave and is cornered by the spider. Ryan escapes the villains and contacts Professor Hart. Hart detects the tracking device and learns Sydney has it. JB is worried for his nephew, but Ryan assures him that he'll try to save him. Doommaster and Arachnobot squabble over who Grimlord will choose to lead his army. They go to hinder Ryan from saving Sydney. Suddenly, in the middle of the battle, Doommaster and Arachnobot turn on each other. Doommaster retreats, and Arachnobot just falls over and dies. Yeah, really. Ryan is teleported to Sydney and catches the spider. He takes Sydney home and then takes the spider to Hart's lab to create the antidote. The antidote works, and JB and Caitlin return to normal. At Tao Dojo, JB spars with his nephew. This episode is really, really good. It's well-paced, the tension is really good, and there's just one thing off here. Doommaster has a really big role this time around, and a ton of footage of his Scheider counterpart Hessler is used. While Doommaster's actor looks similar enough to Hessler from a distance, when you're constantly seeing them up close, it's really obvious, yeah, these are two completely different actors. It's a minor thing, though. It's not really that distracting by this point in VR Troopers. I've gotten pretty used to things not quite matching up the way they should. Sydney's a decent character. I like him, and I hope he'll make another appearance. Arachnobot is oddly named. VR Troopers just seems to like to call villains of any kind bot, regardless of visible robotic qualities. JB and Caitlin's old forms are played by actual older people, and they're very believable as older versions of them. Arachnobot's defeat is really weird. He's not wounded in the least, he just suddenly falls over and then explodes. I'm assuming his defeat was more elaborate in Shider. Okay, I went and I watched the Shider counterpart, and shockingly, Arachnobot's death is pretty much the same. There's slightly more lingering on Doommaster having stabbed him, but not much, and Arachnobot appears okay until he falls over. The Shider episode, interestingly, had a lot more parallels than I would have thought, including a scene with a girl falling into an underground cave, similar to Sydney falling into an underground cave. It's a very specific thing to keep, and it's interesting because in the Shider episode, that scene is only a minor hindrance, whereas in VR Troopers, it's a really important plot point. This is another very strong episode for VR Troopers. I'd say it's even one of the best episodes. Definitely a highlight and recommended among the vast majority of VR Trooper episodes. So hopefully this quality keeps up, because this is the kind of thing I remember Season 2 of VR Troopers being. The first batch of Season 2 episodes were kind of rough. There's a few good ones, some really bad ones, some that just feel like the same tired Season 1 stuff, but ones like this, they really feel like it was a real refresh for the series. So, yeah, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.